I'm Viaksha Mohabir. I'm from GIZ, the German Development Corporation for South Africa. I work as a technical advisor on the Green Hydrogen South Africa program, focusing on environmental and sustainability topics. So GIZ is the German development agency that supports the South African government on various development topics, including energy, climate change, skills development, and many other topics. I also work as the global co-lead for the Women in Green Hydrogen Africa chapter. So that's a international NGO focusing on women advocacy in the green hydrogen sector. So I'll speak specifically to the work that GIZ is doing. So the critical minerals topic at GIZ is rather integrated into various programs and not necessarily a topic on its own. And one of it being part of the Green Hydrogen South Africa program that's aiming to promote a sustainable green hydrogen economy in South Africa. So what we've done recently in the start of this year, we've implemented a study called the Impact Analyses Study of mining critical raw materials for the green hydrogen economy in South Africa. For GIZ and specifically our program, the critical minerals topics is quite new, and so what we have decided in the study is to take a step back and look at it from a holistic perspective and understand South Africa's potential and where we stand at the moment in the specific sector. And so this study focuses largely on your PGMs, so your platinum group metals, because of the benefits it has for the electrolyzers and fuel cells, which are technologies that are used in the green hydrogen sector. So what we're looking at in the study is looking at the environmental impacts of mining these critical minerals, as well as the social and the economic impacts. We also have some sort of mapping exercises to identify where these mines are and how the infrastructure is, and infrastructure such as water and energy, and also how the communities are linked to the mines that exist. In addition to the study, we're also looking at the security and resilience of the supply chain of these minerals, as well as advanced technologies, so the possibility of not using PGMs in this case, and then linking this to the demand in South Africa. And when I say demand, we're looking at both aspects of it, a high demand and a low demand, bearing in mind that there is constant research and development to find more efficient and cheaper ways of developing these technologies, which could in the future not be PGMs. And the second program that's looking at critical minerals at GIZ is the energy, the South African German Energy Partnership. So this is a partnership that now exists for more than 10 years between the South African government and the German government, and the secretariat sits at GIZ. And I think it was last year that the South African government and the German government have established a hydrogen task force to see how both countries can now have joint ventures in the green hydrogen sector, so joint projects, market access. And I know one of the discussions was the possibility of having German manufacturing companies set up in South Africa to produce your electrolyzers and fuel cells using our local PGMs. And other topics that this specific program looks at is also your e-mobility, your solar, and energy security, and so and other technologies that have a linkage to the CRM, the critical minerals value chain, like your copper, your nickel, and your manganese. The study is ongoing. It started at the beginning of this year in February. It's officially closing out in December, so next month. And we plan to have a launch of the study at the beginning of next year. And for us, this is literally the first of hopefully many. So we aim to build and hopefully build on the study in the future. I think for local companies, I think for South Africa, we need to take into consideration that we are one of the biggest producers of PGMs in the world, right? And very often we tend to look at it from an export perspective. Yes, it's great. We export these raw materials globally, but I think we need to take a step further and have this value add to the exports. So instead of only exporting your PGMs as raw materials, why not start manufacturing the electrolyzers and fuel cells in South Africa? So shift the business model a bit, because what generally happens is a country buys PGMs from us, they manufacture electrolyzers and fuel cells, and we buy the product back. So I think there's a need for us to create what we call now the more downstream activities like manufacturing, and I think this will then impact our economy from a job creation perspective, from a local economic perspective, and also ensure that in doing this we promote your SMMEs, so your small and medium enterprises in South Africa. So I think at GIZ, or specifically in our project, we don't really deal much with the investors. I think from GIZ side, it's a lot of the technical support and the softer infrastructure, as we call it, capacity building, research and development. But I think there is an opportunity and there is a gap that that would allow and probably make the German firms want to invest in the country, because it is an attractive place to be at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest, I think there has been a gradual increase in the involvement of women in the sector, or across the energy sector in general. We're starting to find your governments and your organizations set higher standards and targets to include gender equality in their processes. I think also you're finding more and more women taking up your decision-making roles, influencing policy and regulation, and also your younger women starting to enter the STEM sector. So I think there is that gradual uptake of women, but I think it's much slower than it needs to be, and I think there is still major gaps that exist. And I think this is where we bring in the Women in Green Hydrogen topic or network that I work closely with. So this is a global NGO that aims to connect women across the globe in the sector through various elements like networking events. So we share knowledge, we bring women together from around the world in networking events. We also have a global mentorship program. So we already in the fourth round of the mentorship program, where we pair up women from around the world, not necessarily from the same country, just to learn and share experiences, and also to empower and encourage young women that have just started off in the sector. And then we also have what we call an expert database. So we have an expert database of women that we identify for platforms like this, like the Critical Minerals Africa Summit, to have more visibility, to speak on panels, to be interviewed in processes like this. So this is, more and more NGOs like this should be coming up to ensure that we fill in these gaps and ensure that women are included in the just transition as the sector grows. I think maybe from a funding perspective, yes, there should be a larger focus on this, and it brings me back to setting targets that force, women to be included in this. But I think I don't think in any way the woman is not capable of undertaking any of this work in the sector. I think we can do just as much as any other gender can in the sector. So, but I also feel like one of the important aspects to bring in is raising awareness on the sector from a young age. Because you often find that people do not know what consists. At the school level, for example, you often do not find kids knowing that a green hydrogen sector exists. Do not understand what the critical mineral sector is about. So I think if you encourage young women or young kids, young ladies from an early stage to be part of the sector and show them the opportunities, I think we can bring them in that way. I think for me and for GIZ is that we ensure that we build a sustainable, a resilient critical minerals value chain that sort of supports the green hydrogen sector, so that as the critical minerals value chain advances in South Africa, we don't leave the green hydrogen sector behind. And I think for GIZ, like I said, this is almost the first for us in the green hydrogen program on the topic of critical minerals. So we're here to establish partnerships. We ought to also see how we align with the broader targets and perspectives of not just South Africa but Africa, and also share the work that we're doing as well.